Hi, everybody. How is it going? Sorry for running a little bit late. I had to get everything set up and it was a challenge. But I'm here and just want to say what's up to everybody out there. This is the spiritual protection class. I felt really called to put this class together. This is a class, one of the beginner classes that I teach. And I've taught this a number of times for different studios and for Free People Movement when I used to do stuff with them. Shout out to Free People Movement. But this sort of came up, and spiritual protection practices, they kind of evolve over time. And so have mine a little bit. So even from the first class that I've taught about spiritual protection, some of my practices have evolved, and I thought that I would like to share that with you guys today. Okay, so anybody that's on, please feel free, since this is a live class, please feel free to ask any questions that you might have here. I can see any questions that you might have, and I will try my best to answer them as thoroughly as possible. And if not, I will find the answer and get back to you, okay? So why would we need spiritual protection, or why would we even need protection in the first place? Well, in times such as these, when the energy is really sort of chaotic and dense, and everyone's feeling a lot of their own feelings, and they're going through the things that they're going through, because we're connected in this interlaced sort of web of energy, we're absorbing other people's feelings, which may trigger our own feelings to be a certain way. And it may cause our energy to do certain things that we aren't, usually used to. I've had people reach out to me about, having panic attacks and that sort of thing when they didn't used to before. And this is a common thing at this moment, because we're all going through this thing together, right? This is a traumatic event that is that we're all having to work through, and this is why we would need to understand, right? So the first thing that I would like to talk about is that, we would need spiritual protection because the universe is made out of pretty much 95% of subtle energy. 5% of the universe is everything that we can see, the lives that we live on a daily basis. But everything else that is pretty much unseen is subtle energy. And these are the waves of emotions and feelings that we live in on a daily basis that we are actually connecting to without even knowing that we're connecting to them, right? So some of the energy that we connect to is not our own, and we think that it is, and we think that there might be something wrong with us. And in essence, it's really just because a lot of us are empathic and we're absorbing this energy. Okay, so we are affected by unseen forces or energy. A lot of the times, I think most of the times, I think it's changing, but people are unaware of their energy, really. People can, not to say anything, horrible or negative about humanity, but people can be very unaware of their energy. We are very much so trapped, sometimes in our minds, in our own cycles of behavior, in our own programs, and in our heads. And this is where we tend to react in a certain way where we're not actually thinking about, how this is going to affect anyone around us. It's just we're in our own cycle of programming. And so people are unaware of their energy, they shed their energy, and then people that are empathic, or people, just anyone, is absorbing it, and they don't even understand why they start to feel the way that they feel. And then, of course, there are the people that are aware of their energy, and they are actually purposely trying to harm, the next person. So that exists as well. There is the good and the bad and the ugly in this world, and that is one of the ugly truths, that there are people out there who understand how to manipulate energy and understand how to project it in a way where you will feel that, right? And that is, psychic attack, right? So what is a psychic attack? A psychic attack is a reaction in our bodies that is a result of someone else inflicting negative energy on us, right? So whether that be aware, whether they might be doing that, with intention or with ignorance, it's still considered a psychic attack. it can also be the infringement of an entity or a negative polarity within our auric field, right? So it can be somebody projecting their feelings upon us, or it could be an actual entity or a negative polarity that is sitting with us in our auric field. And the way that that happens is, when your auric field is weak, right, you might have tears in your auric field possibly from trauma or abuse or substance abuse, alcoholism. That all creates holes in your auric field. And your auric field is a shell of energy around you that is protecting you. When there are holes or tears in your auric field, it's kind of like a law of physics where if there's like an empty space, something will come and try to fill it. And that is, what an entity attachment is, or a negative polarity attachment is that energy finding a space within your auric field to just kind of sit there with you because they found, it's kind of like they found a little hole that they want to like crawl into, right? So those are a couple forms of psychic attack. And I always classify psychic attacks as two different kind of categories, right? So there is an ignorant form of psychic attack, which is probably the most common, right? Because, as I mentioned in the beginning of this class, that people are unaware of their energy. So ignorant forms of psychic attack are like mental control, right? Someone trying to like really enforce their opinion on you, really trying to sway your mind. Suggestion into the subconscious, kind of like subbing that like little, remark, trying to influence you in some way to think differently. This happens a lot actually in advertising. And I don't think it's very ignorant. I think that they actually know what they're doing. But this suggestion into our subconscious is, like, let's just take, for example, like the beauty industry. Like they know when they are advertising that they are kind of getting into your subconscious to make you feel just a tiny bit insecure compared to like, what they're showing you on the screen or whatnot. And then it makes you buy their product. So that's a form of like kind of like mental manipulation. I would call that like a psychic attack because it is like affecting your opinion about yourself, right? Tearing down your being. If you've ever been, in a relationship or, like a conversation where the person just continually is trying to tear down who you are, that's a form of psychic attack. Overall, just like self-centeredness. Like if you've ever been in a situation where the person is just like me, I'm just going to talk about me all the time and everything is about me. That's also a form of, spiritual attack because it's taking away like your needs and, your boundaries, your right to think about, who you are and yourself. And I mentioned the holes in the auric field again. Holes in the auric field, and then residual emotions. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but have you guys ever experienced like receiving somebody's like residual emotions? Like, let's just say, for example, I don't know, like hatred or jealousy or anger. If somebody's just in the room and it's not really directed towards you, but they have this emotion and you just are absorbing it, like you're feeling the effects of that, like wave of energy coming towards you. That is an ignorant form of psychic attack. Some certain forms of intentional psychic attack, I'll leave it up to you whether you feel like some forms of advertising are a malicious form of psychic attack. I kind of feel like some of them are. Black magic. Black magic is, the practice of, somebody who has learned, magic skills that are trying to manipulate you from your energy from afar and that sort of thing. That is a psychic attack. Voodoo, curses. I mean, curses could be anything, you guys. Like curses can be like fuck that bitch. I wish you would just da 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 da. That's a curse. Right? So it doesn't have to be like written down in a certain way, or it doesn't even have to be a ritual. It's just like your like tone directed towards somebody that could affect people can feel that, right? So just, mind that. All right. So when these spiritual attacks hit, where do they hit? Like, where can you actually feel them? So psychic attacks are usually made, like I said, on our sense of being. and our sense of self. And that generates from our solar plexus energy center. So usually a lot of the times when you are undergoing some type of form of spiritual attack or that sort of thing, you'll feel it in your gut. You'll feel like a yucky feeling in your gut that might transfer to your heart. Like your heart might start feeling heavy, and it will definitely transfer to your mind. And then you'll start to, like play that cycle over and over again. But I feel like the first place that it hits is the gut. So pay attention to your gut feelings when you are hanging out with certain people, when you hear certain things. That is your sort of like compass, your telltale sign of, is this right for me? Is this not? Do I need to take further action or do I not, right? Your solar plexus is the energy center that corresponds to your etheric body. And your etheric body is like the layer that is coating your body after your physical body. So this is protecting you. This is your energetic memory. It's protecting your body, your physical body. And this solar plexus and the etheric body, they correspond to the element of fire. So if you've taken any sort of like elemental magic course, which I'll be teaching in the next couple of weeks, or I think next week on YouTube, you know that fire, if you think about fire as a natural element in the world, it corresponds to clearing and protecting. You think about a fire and it burns away, the dead things. It clears things away. And also it speeds up the vibration of certain chemical reactions. It affects change. It helps change to occur, right? And so that's why the next part of this class, we're going to be talking about the element of fire and how that is, one of the defenses that you can use for spiritual protection. So I talked about clearing and burning, right? That is something that the element of fire does. Talked about how heat speeds up energy and thereby raises the vibration. So any use of fire, you're raising the vibration of the situation because you're using that element to raise it, right? Fire causes an alchemical reaction. So in magic or in spiritual practices, we call this transmutation. So when you send things into a flame, or if you focus on sending emotions in your body into like a flame or a fire, or imagine if something is getting burned up in your mind, you are actually causing transmutation, which is taking something that is negative and then turning it into something that is neutral. The sun, for example, that's why a lot of, in magical practice, there's a lot of rituals and stuff that are dedicated around the sun god, Jesus Christ. He is a resurrected son of God, right? Everybody finds these sun gods being very, very protective, and this is our culture, right? So the sun is the macrocosmic element of fire, and your navel point or your solar plexus is the microcosmic element of fire. So when you invoke the power of your navel, you invoke the power of your sense of being, you're actually invoking fire. You're invoking the element of the sun, right? And the sun has the power of life, right? And clearing. Okay, so invoking fire for protection, meditating with fire, lighting a candle, being able to just sit there and meditate, light that candle, take all the feelings that you're feeling from your body and just send it into the flame. That is a way to clear your energy. You can do a fire ceremony, right? So you could write down everything that you're feeling about a situation, just emptying that energy out of your body onto a piece of paper and then burning it, right? That's a transmutational ceremony. Holy smoke, the use of holy smoke. So getting a sage and lighting it with fire and then using that smoke as a symbolism of transmutation, alchemical reaction. And, sage smoke, it does kill like 98% of the actual like airborne viruses and bacteria in the air. So it actually is doing some clearing, but using sage smoke to clear your energy, right? Breathwork that invokes the element of fire. So this is one that I use a lot when I feel like I am getting like I'm absorbing too much of somebody's energy, or I feel like I'm in a situation where like I really just want to, I can't. I just feel like I feel attacked, and they're other than getting like attacking back or whatever, you kind of have to take a step back and get your grounding, get your footing, get your senses going back into the calm zone. I will do breath work that invokes the element of fire, which is the breath of fire, right? So if you haven't taken any Kundalini classes before, I will teach you the breath of fire right now. This exercise is actually called Ego Eradicator. Ego is, it's when we use the term ego, everybody has an ego, right? Ego helps us to keep us from danger. It helps us to recognize like who we are and our sense of self. But sometimes ego gets in the way, where we start to make things all about ourselves. And that's when I was talking about people who are a little bit self-centered, recognizing that we could also be that way as well. So ego eradicator means like I'm eradicating my ego and any ego that is trying to like fuck with me right now. So this is how you would do it. Okay, so first let's start with the layer of breath of fire, and everybody do this with me at home. So breath of fire is like you're panting like a dog through your mouth. Okay, so first let's go like this. And see how you are pumping your belly. Okay, and then you're gonna close your mouth and do it through your nose. So, right? And now Ego Eradicator is adding the arms. So you're gonna lift your arms up to 60 degrees. You're gonna press your the pads of your fingers into your palms, and you're going to point up with your thumbs, just like thumbs up, universe. I'm ready to eradicate these egos. Okay. And then you would just gently close your eyes and focus at your third eye point, okay? And then you would just gently inhale and exhale and just get your grounding. And then you would begin breath of fire. So focusing at your third eye point. Let's try to do this for maybe a minute if you can, all right? And let's just take our baseline frequency right now. So how are you feeling right now? And then I want you to realize and recognize how you feel after we do the ego eradicator. Okay. This is a good way to just shed. All right. So hands up, thumbs up to the sky. Okay. Inhale in and exhale, and begin ego eradicator. All right, inhale in. Bring your thumbs to touch ahead over your head, just like this. Spread your fingers open wide. You're still holding that inhale. And then sweep the hands down, clearing the auric field. Okay. That is a very protective form of breath work. And I don't know if you can tell, but I can feel like I just patched up all the holes in my auric field at that time. So that's one tip for you guys. And the next section that I want to talk about for invoking fire for protection is the actual violet flame. Okay, so maybe you've heard of this, maybe not, but the violet flame is a tool that was given to us by the Ascended Master Saint Germain. And envisioning something engulfed in violet fire or invoking the violet flame, it transmutes the energy of the situation. So you can violet flame a person, you can violet flame yourself, you can violet flame objects. You can use this method for clearing at any time that you feel. So sometimes I will say a prayer invoking the violet flame, which is, we are beings of violet fire. I call forth the violet transmuting flame to pass through my mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and etheric bodies and my soul's consciousness to transmute the cause and core of anything that is less than 100% pure light frequency. And then I just envision the violet flame taking over that situation or that person or myself until the flame turns white and then it dissipates. So that's one way to use the violet flame. Another way to use the violet flame is through sound. So let's just say, for example, I wanted to clear this crystal with the violet flame. I would imagine that there is a sort of like a bubble of light around this crystal. And then I would take a deep inhale in. And then I would project the violet flame onto this object with my voice, seeing that it is rising and the molecules are moving so fast and that everything, all the energy is being cleared until, again, it turns brilliant, bright white, and then the energy has dissipated or become neutralized. So you just take a deep inhale in and then and that is a cleared crystal for you right there. Okay. The next topic that I want to talk about is light shields. So one of the, one of the first techniques that I learned for spiritual protection, like way back in my early 20s, was a bubble of white light. My spiritual teacher back then, she would always say, like, whenever you're going into a situation where you need protection, just imagine that there's a bubble of white light around you. So this has become to me a technique that I call light shields. And you can use various different colors of light to bring a vibration to you that is protective, that's grounding. There's all these different kinds of colors that you can use for that. So a type of light shield that I like to use now is gold light. So when I use gold light, I'm thinking that this is the energy of the central sun, and it is purifying. It carries the energy of life, death, and resurrection. It carries the Christ energy. These are all things that I associate with gold light. Okay. Another type of light form that I use is rose gold. So rose gold light, when I use rose gold light, I think of Gaia. Like, this is Gaia's vibration. This is her color that she sends to me. And rose gold light to me is like magnetizing. So it like will pull all of the lower frequency vibrations out of your body, and then it will create this like balance in your magnetic field, is why I use rose gold light. There's also violet light, which we just talked about. So putting yourself in that violet bubble. And then another type of light that I like to use a lot is rainbow light. So rainbow iridescent light, just envisioning that there is like this rainbow sphere of light around you. That balances a lot of the energies that you would find or feel in your core channel of energy. And so I prefer to use gold light and rainbow light at this time. That's like my most potent tools. And then, of course, there's always white light, right? So white light is pretty basic, but you want to be careful when you use white light, what you're envisioning, right? So when you use white light, it can be, you can imagine that it could be like a cloudy, like kind of like milky white light. That's the kind of white light that you want to avoid, because it's kind of like creating a blank slate in your mind, and other forces or other energies can come in and influence. So you want to be able to imagine like a brilliant diamond white light. So even seeing just a little bit of color, rainbow color in there will help you. I've been using black light shield. So that for me is for invisibility. So if I feel like somebody is like remote viewing me, or if somebody is trying to like tap into my energy field, I will just shut it down and just turn it black. So that's one of my techniques that I use. Okay, so let's talk about energetic cords, right? Because I feel like cords is something that a lot of people will talk about, like, I want to cut the cords. I just broke up with this person. I need to cut cords with him. So let me just tell you something about what cords are and then what they're not, right? So cords are an empathic response that is connected to your etheric body. So when I say it's an empathic response, it means that there needs to be another party involved that has like an opinion about you, right? So when you say, people might say like, oh, I'm corded to a situation. Like, you're not corded to that situation. You're corded to that person that was in that situation. You can't be corded to a place. You're just attached to it, right? So on the other end of a cord has to be another person that is also giving energy. All right. So how does this empathic cord happen? It happens through like your opinions, right? So this person will have an opinion about you. Their opinion about you will create an opinion about them, and then this goes back and forth, and that's how the cord is created. Of course, there's many other factors, but that sort of exchange of energy, that exchange of how you think about that person is what's creating the energy cord. The dangers of being unhealthily corded to somebody is that it can cause you to regress or to stop evolving. That person's opinion about you could affect you so much that you're just trying to do everything to please them and not even really examining or trying to be yourself at that moment. Cutting cords with somebody stops the empathic response. So when you cut cords with somebody, you will no longer care what that person thinks about you, and you will probably not care what you think about them either. So when you do a cord cutting, when you say like, I don't want to be corded to this person anymore, like you really also have to do the work on like letting go of your opinions of them, or letting go of control of them or the situation. So there's that. So I've had a lot of situations where I've cut cords with that person, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? It's because they can feel that I don't care about them, or that I have cut the empathic response between us, right? And then of course cords can, they can grow back, if you are not doing the work of keeping that clean, right? Okay, so cords can be cut by you. You don't have to like go to a special person to do this for you. This is something that you can do for yourself. Okay, so it's enacted and completed with the power of your own intention. Trust and believe that if you go to somebody that's like, I'm going to cut some cords for you, if you don't have that intention, if you don't feel like you're going to follow through with that intention, then it's not going to matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you have somebody go cut cords, or if you buy all this like, stuff from, wherever else that's supposed to cut the cords for you. Like, this is something that needs to come from you and from the power of your own intention. So understand that. We can be attached in many places to each other, but the most common place is the solar plexus. I've seen attachments from the heart to the solar plexus, from the solar plexus to the heart, like somebody trying to exert their will upon the way that you feel or your emotions. I've seen cords that come from like third eye to third eye. I've seen cords that look like goo, like straight slime. So there's all different kinds, and it's depending on like, what your attachment looks like. What is it that's keeping you attached to this person, right? But yeah, so the most common is the solar plexus. So I work on that a lot when I do private healing, if there is a cord cutting that needs to happen. A prayer that I like to say, it's an easy prayer that you can say, and anyone can write their own prayer for cord cutting, but I would say something like, I cut all negative soul ties which hinder me from evolving into my highest self. I cut all negative soul ties that hinder me from evolving into my highest self. I've had cord cuttings where I just go cut, 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 right? And just allow that, that's the strength of your passion, of your voice, getting louder and louder, and just the action of like cutting, like that is creating an energy, and that's creating an intention for that cord to be cut. So you can also cut the cord, right? You can use a selenite wand. You can use a crystal. You can call the Archangel Michael and say, Archangel Michael, cut this cord from this person that is causing me harm. You can use a candle flame. And then you would want to, I also like to envision the root of the cord, right? So say that there's like a root that's lodged into your body, soldering that with the violet flame, or just merely pulling it out of your body and then soldering that wound with the violet flame so that it cannot return. Okay. Another thing that I want to talk about is revocations. So revocations is a very, very powerful way to protect your energy, or to protect yourself spiritually. A revocation is a declaration of your intention, your will, and your consent, and can be used to protect you, to cut cords, to negate agreements, to negate soul contracts, all of that. So again, like it was really funny the other day. We were trying to get online to go. I don't know. It was me and a couple of other healers, and it was weird because we were trying to get into this Zoom room, and there was something that wasn't letting us join. And I was like, "There's a force that is trying to stop us from conversing with each other." And my friend Jesse was like, "Oh, I revoked it and that's why it worked." So he was like, I go, "What was the revocation? What did you say?" And he goes, "I revoke whatever the fuck is not is not allowing this to work." And it's just as simple as that. It's as simple as saying, like, I revoke whatever energy is making me feel this way. I do not consent to feeling this way. This is not my energy. Saying these things out loud, or if it's something that is trying to mess with you, that's not a person, you can say things like, "I revoke you, I do not consent, I banish you." Those types of commands, coming from the strength of your sense of being, coming from your courage and your will, that is what will help to protect you. Because if you're there and you're scared and you're like, "Oh, I don't want to see you," like, da da da, it's like, it knows that it's like feeding off of your fear, right? And that's just coming from like the spiritual realm. But it also works on people. Like, "I revoke you, I do not consent." How many people have, this comes to like where we talk about like your boundaries, right? Like, are you able to draw that boundary, like with the person or situation that is causing you mental, emotional duress, right? That's causing you to feel like you're being attacked, right? I've had a lot of clients that are like, "I can't, I feel like I have anxiety, I have panic attacks, this and that." And I'm like, "How are your boundaries?" Right? Like, how do you handle situations where if somebody is crossing your line, like, how do you handle that? Do you tell them, "I don't feel comfortable with that. You are crossing my boundary"? And I'll tell you, my personal story. Like, I've suffered from depression and anxiety for, the most part of my life. And it wasn't until I learned how to say, "This is not okay. You are making me feel uncomfortable. You are making me feel like this, and it's crossing my boundary. And so I'm going to have to say no." That was like, whoa, it changed. It changed everything. It shifted everything. And so you can do that in the physical realm, and you can do that in the spiritual realm, because that you are a divine creator being, and you have the right to say what goes and what doesn't go, and they will listen. Okay. So that is a revocation. Physical defense for spiritual protection. There's lots of little physical things that you can do to help to protect you spiritually. One was breath work, which I showed you. Any kind of breath work, but breath of fire, that one is like the number one go-to. Self-care. Oh man, self-care. If you're not like eating, if you're not sleeping, if you're not giving yourself time to rest, your auric field becomes depleted. There might be like weak spots, and then that's how people kind of like affect you like even more. Whether they be spirits or whether they be actual people, that's how they get to you, right? Closed circuit posture. So I used to do this in meetings when I used to be in the fashion industry. If I would feel like somebody was kind of coming at me in a weird way, I would just like cross my arms, cross my legs, and that is supposed to contain your energy. Right. So not allowing you to be open, not allowing them to access your, your solar plexus or your heart points. So there's that. Fixed gaze. Sometimes people can stare deep into your eyes. Like, I'm not even joking. There are people out there that are very persuasive, and they can stare deep into your eyes and sort of persuade you of certain things or suggest things into your subconscious in that way. And when you feel like that's happening, and how do you, like, let me rewind, and how do you tell when there is a spiritual attack that's happening to you, or that you're absorbing somebody else's energy? Well, again, like I said, you will feel it in your body, somewhere in your body. For me, it's the solar plexus. I feel like for most people it is. So pay attention to that. And that's where you just kind of do your little switch up, and you start to do a fixed gaze to their forehead instead of into their eyes. Okay, but what are the symptoms of a psychic attack? How do you know you are getting attacked spiritually? So recurring negative thoughts, right? If you feel like you're having recurring negative thoughts over and over, you're just thinking of these negative situations, tragic situations over and over again, that could be a good indication that there is some type of spiritual attack happening. Onset anxiety and depression. This is something that I know, this is like my cue, my signal. If I start to feel anxiety like out of nowhere, or if I start crying out of nowhere, I know that there is a spiritual attack that is happening on me. And that's where you start to do clearing. That's where you start to do revocations. Low self-esteem. Low self-esteem, it's like somebody just took away your light, right? Somebody just took away your sense of being. That is a good way to tell. Extreme fatigue and bad dreams. Bad dreams, for me, the dream world is where a lot of the spiritual attack happen. And it's really crazy. So one thing to combat that, the bad dream thing, is having your bed facing east to west. Right? So east where the sun rises, west where the sun sets. So you're going along with the energetic flow of the sun again, right? Aligning your body with the sun. Sun salutations. Oh my God, why didn't I even think of that? Sun salutations, yoga, that yogic practice, that's a spiritual defense too, because you're saluting the sun. You are doing this, movement that is invoking the sun into your body, right? Placement of talismans. Okay, so I love using talismans. You guys know I love using crystals. I love jewelry, all of that stuff. If you've ever been to Jupiter Soundscape, you will notice that we have little black tourmaline beetles that are carved with a talisman that I designed in all the four corners of our house. And that's something that you could do. I'm so willing to share this talisman with you. I can give you the beetle design, and then you can just place your black stones on top of it and just invoke that energy into the stones and place them around your house if you'd like. Some crystals that I love to use for energetic protection are, I'm just going to show them to you now. Okay. Black tourmaline is like my number one go-to for protection. So this is very protecting because it aligns your core channel of energy, and it grounds you into the heart of the earth. Right. And then it's very protective as far as like it absorbs like even electromagnetic frequencies or electromagnetic radiation. It absorbs that. So any kind of environmental pollutants, black tourmaline is great for that. Tiger's eye, talking about like the energy of the sun. Tiger's eye is a great stone. It helps to combat anxiety, but it has that nice like golden sheen. And then if you think of a tiger, I mean, a tiger is like it's fierce, right? It knows what it wants. It has integrity. It has leadership. It has courage. And this is something that, you would use to sort of like protect your, boost the energy in your solar plexus. We have some lovely golden healer quartz. So this golden healer stuff, it has like golden hematite in it. So not only is it grounding, but it's very sort of high vibrational in the sense that it does link, it works on your crown chakra. So it does link you to spirit. And when you're, immensely connected to spirit, there is not really anything that can come and mess with you in that way. So golden healer quartz, very protective. And again, color of the sun, gold. This is one that I got for my husband. So this is a Herkimer diamond. Herkimer diamonds are a type of quartz that is only found in Herkimer, New York, I think. But Herkimer diamonds are super duper high vibrational crystals. And my husband told me that he got a psychic attack in his sleep, spiritual attack. And so I got him this Herkimer diamond, and he keeps it next to his bed and has not had any more of those dreams. Another crystal that I like for protection is celestial quartz. So this is my personal piece. It's an celestial library. Celestials have all these little tiny steps that go up the face of it. These are supposed to be encoded with different technologies. or things for the person who found them, I guess. And then celestials help you to raise your vibration. So that's what the little steps are about, is that you are raising, ascending. And yeah, so this also helps you to sleep as well. And it creates a sort of like a peaceful celestial, type of energy. So celestials. Labradorite. This is our little labradorite heart. You see that little flash in there? That is the element of fire in the labradorite. This was formed like in a volcano. So labradorite is really spiritually protective. It helps you to kind of like see beyond like false reality. But I like to use it for the flash aspect of the crystal. And this is very protective in the spiritual realm. Okay. This is angel aura quartz, amphibole quartz. This is another crystal that helps you to connect very strongly with spirit, as it's called angel aura. So, for your auric field. Yeah, this is one that I like to use also as well. I like to put this on the solar plexus as well. And then last but not least, pyrite. Pyrite is very, very protective for the person, for energy, because of its gold nature, right? Again, calling in the power of the sun. And then, of course, the pyramid point, that is a symbol of man trying to being in communion with God, or being in union with God. So there's that. And then we also have a whole bunch of little sort of like talisman necklaces. So I love the black tourmaline talisman necklace. So when you wear this, it just hangs right over your heart, or if you wear a lower chain, it can hang right over your solar plexus to protect you from anybody sort of like wanting to, tap into your energy field in that way. We have a labradorite talisman as well. Very nice. There is also a pink topaz talisman. So pink topaz carries the topaz in general, and it's amazing that it's pink because that's for the heart. But topaz carries the energy of the sun. It's a really, really, really strong and high vibe crystal. So there's that one. And then we have tourmalinated quartz. So tourmalinated quartz is quartz with little bits of tourmaline included in it. And so when tourmaline and quartz are together, the tourmaline protection aspect is amplified by the quartz aspect. So this is even a more powerful sort of, talisman than just the black tourmaline. So there's that. All right. So that's it for talismans. So clearing and grounding practices, just making sure that at the end of each day that you're taking time to recognize what energy is yours and what energy is not yours. Okay, so when you are taking time to just sit there, meditate, maybe, recount what was happening in the day, and then just allowing that stuff to just seep into the ground and sending it down into earth to be transmuted. That is an energy clearing practice. I like to do it in the bathtub, which brings me to my next subject of ritual bath. Ritual bath is like my number one clearing for energy practice. So you can make your own ritual bath. So you could use like sea salt or Epsom salt. You could mix both, pink Himalayan salt, and put a little bit of carrier oil, a little bit of essential oil. You can put crushed like lavender or crushed rose petals in there, and just give yourself a nice treat. And while you're in there, I like to meditate in the bath. So I'll close my eyes and I'll scan my body, and I'll see where things are being lodged or where things are being held in my body, where they're lodged. And then I'll imagine them being sort of like dissipated into the earth, like just let them melt away and flow into the earth. And the salt is really good for you too, because it pulls the toxins out of you. It pulls like literal physical toxins out of your body. And my favorite ritual of bath so far is actually this one that is made by Libra Moon Manifest and Non-Farm. This one is called Cut and Protect. This one is the bomb. So Cut and Protect is made with shungite, black salt, lavender, and tourmaline quartz. I literally the other day was feeling like I had so much anxiety, like my heart was palpitating out of my chest. And I used this and literally it just brought me back to like I'm normal, I'm good. And I think it's the shungite. So shungite is another black stone that helps to regulate your magnetic field because it absorbs EMF, right? So like putting yourself in this bath is kind of amazing, but I'll let you see the inside of it here. It smells of lavender. It has like a tourmalinated quartz inside of it, which is great. And I really recommend doing a ritual bath at least like once a week. That is really good for energy. We talked about smudging, right? We talked about how you smudge. I talked about this in the spatial cleansing workshop, but you really want to make sure that you're consecrating your sage, right? So just saying a prayer, clearing it, maybe clearing it with the violet flame before you use it. But all the sage that we sell at our shop is sustainably grown, and it's wrapped by the same person that grows it. So the energy line is really clear, so you won't have to worry about that. And then, of course, there are rituals for banishing, which is a little bit more advanced than just spiritual protection one-on-one. That's something that I can go into if you would like. And then, yeah, that's basically it, everybody. There is a meditation that I had just put up on clearing all the subtle bodies with the violet flame. So that's something that you can use for yourself. There is a tutorial on how to create a ritual bath if you want to use that. And other than that, I am here for any questions that you might have, any specific questions that you might have. Psychic attack in the workplace. Psychic attack in the workplace, it happens a lot. And especially this person that asked this question is from the fashion industry. So psychic attack in the workplace, this is where you kind of just have to draw your boundaries and hold your ground and communicate with that person. One thing that I found is such a killer tool for anything that is a psychic or spiritual attack is just being kind. Being compassionate. I know it sounds super cliche, but being like, hey, are you okay? Is there something, that's going on that I don't know about? Because you kind of came at me in a certain way and that made me feel uncomfortable, right? Calling that person out like that, because you never know. That person might be going through something crazy that you don't even know about. And then that might help them to open up to you. And then if they're just being kind of an asshole, then you just have to tell them this is not acceptable. You can't talk to me like that. This is kind of where you have to, draw your boundaries. Okay. Psychic attack in the workplace. Protection from people living in fear that subconsciously send out negative energy. Yeah, this is where you have to clear your own energy and understand that energy is not yours. And this is where you can invoke a light shield. This is where you can invoke the violet flame. You can send them the violet flame. And then you can also just tell them how you feel, protection from jealous people that project negative energy onto you. Again, that is the light shield portion of what I was talking about. And you just got to do your best to understand where that other person is coming from. Because when you look at somebody and you feel their jealousy and you're like, oh, that person is jealous of me, and you're feeding into it, you're actually feeding into that lower frequency vibration. You're courting with them. Right? So when you understand and you are compassionate to that person, that person might be jealous because this, and that, but you know what? That's not my fault. I don't own that. It's not part of me. That's how you stay not courted to that person, right? If that makes sense. Okay. Well, I hope this was all helpful information. And like I said, drop any kind of questions that you guys might have. And if you want to hear anything, or if you want to know anything else, definitely drop me a line. You can DM me on Instagram. You can email us at info@jupitersoundscape.com. If you like the content that we've been putting out, please hit the subscribe button. I was supposed to say that in the beginning, but I didn't because I was nervous. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you soon, probably in the next couple of days for elemental magic. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Bye.